All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Greg Ryder Show. Before we start this episode, I just want to give a shout out because Rockin' Our Ranch is the sponsor to this podcast. They are a beautiful guest ranch about 10 minutes east of Strathmore, where we're filming this. And they've got guest cabins, they have amazing wedding venue, and just a beautiful, breathtaking view with some horses running in the background. So check out rockinourguestranch.com and check out the venue, and you can book them for a cabin stay, or if you got a wedding coming up, you can book them. Now we'll get into the show. I'm really excited for this guest. This is the first guest that we have on the Greg Ryder Show, and he's played a pivotal part in the reason that I'm here living in Alberta. And, you know, we met a couple years ago and off a story that we will talk about, but it's just a crazy story of things meant to be. And, you know, obviously the big man, God working in my life and bringing the right people into my life. So I just want to say that, and I want to welcome Ken to the show. Ken, welcome to the Greg Ryder Show.
Hello, Greg. Thank you.
How you feeling?
Honored to be the first guest on your show.
Yeah.
100%.
You know what? When we first were talking about doing this, like I remember me and Tyler, he's obviously the man behind the camera, but he is the one that is obviously helping me bring this whole thing together. And, you know, he's the production, he's going to do the editing and do all that stuff. So big shout out to Tyler Hill from Rocket Grid. But he said to me, he said, I want you to bring someone that you feel comfortable talking to for the first one, because, you know, we're going to probably test out some bugs and trying to figure out kind of some stuff. And I was like, who can I bring on? And I'm like, then it hit me. I was like, I got it. And I don't even have to worry about, like, because you've always had kind of my back in that sense. That I knew that a quick call, I just had to say it, and I knew you would say yes. So I was like, give me 1 second. I called him right away, and I was like, would you want to be the first guest? And you were just like, hell yes. And I was
100%.
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an honor.
Yeah, and Ken, like I said, like you did play a pivotal part in Alberta, but I want you to introduce yourself and kind of, you know, tell me a bit about kind of you and how, you know, what you've been doing and how you got to Alberta.
Well, I came to Alberta when I was really young, sort of a maritimer that came out for work. The oil patch and the oil boom. That was kind of how I landed here, but it's where I grew up, and more importantly, it's how I met you. Had that little, opened up a pub in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And no one had been doing much of anything, and we were all locked down. And then I heard your song 16 Sticks in honor of Humboldt, and that's how I sent you a message on Instagram.
Yeah. And we'll get to that, like that point, because when I first, you know, obviously I think we've talked about this, like we were both at times in our life when like we wanted to just, you know, throw in the towel. Like there was a lot of things where you know, life was not going our way. And, you know, obviously I was coming back from Nashville, and, you know, obviously, you know, we can talk about this and kind of some stuff, but like I just felt like I was at the end of my rope, and I didn't know what my life was really unfolding. And, you know, 16/6 was a song that I wrote, and when I put that song out, it was like it revitalized everything. Like it showed me what happens when you write a song you're not trying to write a song for people, like a country song about beer and drinking, like you write from your heart. And it was a perfect tale of that because you found that song. And so just tell them about the day that you heard 16 Sticks and kind of the emotions that kind of like what you felt when you heard that.
Like the rest of the planet, I think everybody was in shock. Our businesses were shut down. I had just opened it, and we had 21 people working there, and all of a sudden they had no livelihood coming in. Everything was on hold. We had invested everything into this business. And I had this lovely Irish lady that Sinead behind the bar that said to me, you need to do Instagram instead of post on Facebook, because we were trying to promote the order in, the takeout and the delivery at the time. And I think maybe at that time we were allowed 4 people at a table, maybe it was 12 feet apart at that point. But everyone was kind of in shock and the business was impacted badly. And she had said, you need to do Instagram because it will post to Facebook instead of just doing Facebook. And there was some colorful Irish swear words in there. That night I probably had a beer and maybe had a bourbon sitting in the garage and having a cigar, and I just opened Instagram. Mm-hmm. And you pop up on Instagram as my first, I opened the account and the 16 Sticks comes up. Crazy. And lo and behold, a neighbor of mine, Chris Joseph, who my son hung around with, his son Brett, had lost Jackson almost 3 years earlier in the Humboldt bus crash.
And just to interrupt you quickly, you lost your son.
Yeah, lost my boy to addiction a year before. So I reached out to Chris and just said that day, hey, we're neighbors, and we were kind of dog park neighbors, walking, see each other once in a while. The kids cross paths periodically. And a massive shout out to Chris Joseph and his struggle and what he's done for transportation and for safety and for his cause. But at that time I just said, hey, I lost my boy. I don't know if you know this, but I lost a boy as well. If you ever need to just sit down, have a beer, or just have a talk. And that's what kind of inspired it. So I'm sitting in the garage that night, maybe with an extra bourbon, and you just pop up, this song 16 Sticks, and I hit it, and all of a sudden there's that tie to the neighbor, there's a tie to my loss with my boy. And the whole struggle of what was going on with COVID and what was going on with the business and the world in general. Like, we weren't the only people impacted that year. Everybody was, the whole planet.
Yeah.
And I think we all felt that, where are we going? What are we going to do? And so I see your song. And that was one of the most impactful things that happened to me. So, of course, maybe on the third bourbon, I send you an Instagram, what you call a letter on Instagram. And from my perspective, I didn't know where you were, who you were. So a couple days later, when you haven't answered, I looked on Google and I started trying to figure it out. And I realized you had been in Nashville. I'm thinking, this guy's famous. He's just going to go, and he's too busy for us. Mm-hmm. But why can't we do something? Why can't we do a fundraiser? Why can't we honor the Humboldt? And so I did. And I went and talked to Source for Sports in St. Albert, and they threw 16 sticks at me, and I threw those up in the rafters and talked to my staff at the time, and the staff just all jumped in. And one of them, Brandon Elias, he lost a best friend in that crash. Mm-hmm. And Brandon had a good cry, and he said, yeah, let's do it. So he was an integral part. You met him when you finally came up.
Yep.
And it was just, that's what started it. But your song and the tribute to that incident. And then lo and behold, you answered a couple days later, 4 or 5 days later, and I think your dad probably made you. But
he positioned it in a way of like, because I think, but at that time in my life, like, I was so used to being let down. Mm-hmm. I think I was so used to just being in the industry and just like being so let down from so many people telling me like, or just getting me excited about something and then never delivering on it. Yeah. And I think it just kind of brought back some memories of being down in Nashville, and like, just when I saw the message, I was like, this is something that's it's just a message. It's not, doesn't mean anything. It's just someone that wants me to come out. And like, I felt kind of low at that point. I was like, I didn't feel like it could really help me. And then my dad was like, did you read that comment like fully? And I was like, I think I browsed over it. And he's like, it was a really nice message about your song. And I was like, I'm going to go back. And I read through it again, and he's like, you should message him. And I was like, yeah, I should. So I messaged you, and then that's when it like started to really kind of, find its wings. And I remember you said to me, like, I don't know if it's possible, but like, I'd love to have you out here. And like, here I am, back in my hometown. I'm, 29 years old. I had to move back in my parents. I just like felt this complete low point in my life where I'm like, I just spent my last, 5 years working on this dream, being down in Nashville, like getting carried away with drinking and partying, and like I couldn't turn my life around. And like, you sending me that message was just like, I needed a reason to get out, and I needed a reason to run. And when I saw that message, I was like, I'm going to do it. And then you said, I don't know if it's possible. I'd love to get you out here to sing the fundraiser.
I'm this bar owner in this bar that's now faced with total adversity. And
yeah.
I hear this country music singer from Nashville call me up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, it's an honor to talk to someone who's so successful. And you're like, I'm in the basement.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm at the bottom. I'm back at the bottom, man. Like, and I think that's what a lot of people think was like, oh, everyone paints that Nashville thing, and like it paints you, but like, man, it's ordinary people. It's ordinary people. Like, they're all ordinary people. And they go through ups and downs, and like, I was definitely at a down. So I think you found me at a time in my life where it's like I needed that, just someone to believe in me.
And we were all in a down, and your question to me was, hey, what would you like me to do? And I'm like, I don't know, would love to get you out here. And Greg, we didn't have the resources to do it. We had nothing. There was no, and I said, well, we'll get you out here somehow. Yeah. And it's funny because the next day I was driving by the Dodge dealer, and I went in there thinking, you know, someone's going to support this type of an endeavor to do a fundraiser for hockey and honor the Humboldt. Someone's going to do it. Yeah. I walk into the Dodge dealer, and Stephen Wack, the owner of St. Albert and Sherwood Park Dodge, like, they just look at. He's like, what do you need?
Yes.
And he sponsored the Jeep that we took to Humboldt event.
Shout out to St. Albert Dodge. Like, I've never felt more like a celebrity when I came out that week. So I pretty much, Ken told me, he's like, okay, we're going to take care of your flight. We got you a hotel for the week. Come out here and sing a couple times. And I'm like, let's go. Like, we're getting put up. And I hired Ty to come out with me and stuff like that. And you took care of his flight as well. So you spent like probably just over a grand or something on flights and then some hotels. I showed up to this lime green Jeep Wrangler from St. Albert Dodge. Shout out to them, because I showed up to this beautiful Jeep and I'm like, man, this is incredible. Like, we're getting the real royal treatment. And man, I just remember that week was just like incredible, because it just, it's like, you know, all the lows that you've been through. And I was like, okay, like, let's just have like the week of our lives. And just like, and I remember like every single time I tried bringing money out to like pay for the bill at your restaurant, and you're like, put your money away. Your money's no good here. And I was like, dude, let me pay for a freaking drink. And you're like, Greg, every time you hear you will never pay for a drink or a food. And you've stuck to that word. Like, every single time I go to your pub, and obviously it's changed from Patty's to Thirsty Rooster now, but like, you still always take care of me whenever I step in there. And it's just like, it's an incredible.
But what you did for St. Albert, I walked into the Dodge dealer that day, and Steven he said, what do you need? And I said, we're going to order 16 jerseys, one for everybody on that bus. And we've got these 16 sticks, and I've got this guy, and he came out of Nashville. I want to fly him out here, and his videographer. And you know what? I want to take him to Humboldt. I want to go up there. His song talks about playing on center ice. I want him to play on center ice. And Steven just comes out, and he puts a check on the table, and he says, whatever you need.
He sponsored that.
You.
Wow, I did not know that.
He sponsored all of it. He paid the tickets out.
Holy crap.
So Stephen actually paid the tickets out, and he gave us a Jeep, because I got a Jeep for you. Get him to Humboldt. I turned around and didn't know what we were going to do with the rest of it. And then I was driving down to the pub, and I drove by Best Western. I went into, I think his name was Zach. I walked in and told him, he goes, yeah, there's a room for those boys. Let's do it. And it was just, that was there. And I walk in the bar that day, and I think I had the 16.6 at that point, and I just talked to the staff, and we hung them up, and it just snowballed from there. And then it was everybody in the community. It was got Jody and Allison at District. They went and bought the 16 books. Allison brought in 16 books, Crossroads by Caleb Dahlman. And I didn't know what the hell we were doing. We didn't have any money. We didn't have the money to fly you out there. Yeah. But I said, there's a reason we got to do something. There's no reason why we can't do an online auction. There's no reason why we can't do something for inspiration and to honor Chris and his family and everybody else. And it just kind of went from there. And before we knew it, we had those books. And I called up to Humboldt, and they said, yeah, come on up. Well, they didn't have the players weren't there. There was no public there. But the management team said, yeah, this is good. This song's inspired us too. And everything came from that song. It just came from that inspiration you had to honor them. And it grew and grew. And, we raised $10,000 for minor hockey that year. And it just... We had some of the best people. You show up and just said, what are we doing? And I said, I don't know.
Oh, man. I remember
the answer. We didn't know.
And I remember just jumping into the Jeep when you picked us up at the airport. And, like, I was like, I'm at this mind. I'm like, everything's too good to be true. Like, you got this beautiful Jeep. Like, I'm getting flown out here. Like, who is this guy? Like, who is this Ken guy? Like, I only met him through messaging. And I just realized throughout that week, like, you just took me on a journey through St. Albert, and I'm pretty sure I sang at a penitentiary. I sang for a couple people, like in a parking lot. Like, we did so much that week.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And, just from your staff that I learned that, like, you really made me feel like just part of the family and part of like the Patty's family. And I realized a couple days later, I'm like, this man here is not just like a guy. Like, he is like, at first I'm like, you were too good to be true. I was like, this guy's just putting on a front.
Yep.
This guy's like just like putting on a front, and like it's kind of like this is just who he is, like pretends to be. And after 3 or 4 days like hanging out with you, I'm like, holy crap, this guy literally has the biggest heart that I've ever met.
Absolutely no idea about what we're doing.
Like, it was just like I was like, this man is actually the real deal, and like you have you have the biggest heart, and you care so much about other people that you never put yourself first. Like, it's always about like just giving and giving and giving, and it's just like, yeah, man, I just realized that. I'm like, and it hit me on the way to Humboldt. All right, I just want to pause this conversation quickly just to talk about one of our dear sponsors, Rocket Grid Marketing. They are an incredible Alberta-based digital marketing company, and they focus on growing brands. They focus on hitting business goal needs and whatever your business may need to take you to the next level. So if you want to check out more about what they do, head to rocketgrid.ca and see what they do. So for people that don't know, is like, you did it. Like, you planned, like, I was in my mind, I was like, how cool would that be to go to Humboldt? But like, then I looked at the map. I was like, okay, it's like 9 hours away. I'm like, man, this is a dream. This is the dream that's not going to come true. And like, I remember you're like, no, we're going. And I was like, we're going? He's like, we're going. And I'm like, who's driving? He's like, don't you worry, boys. Like, you guys just jump in the back, and I'm going to take care of driving. I used to be a truck driver. Like, you were like talking about your history of long hauling or whatever. And I was like, I'll take care of it. So tell them about like, that Humboldt trip and how it all started and that kind of stuff.
So the interesting thing there is, I think we were all in a struggle. There's all kinds of struggles in the world, but Chris had lost his son. I think he was struggling at the time, and when I remember asking him, I called him up when I messaged you, and I said, is it okay to do a fundraiser for Humboldt? And I know it's raw. This is 3 years. It's the 3rd anniversary. Is it going to be okay? And Chris's answer to me was, yeah, but leave me out of it. Just really leave me out of it. Like, I've talked to the other families. We're all okay, but we're tired of it. It's a hard day, right? We're not going to be overly involved. And I said, great. And we threw the ball out, and we did that, and we're getting ready, and all of a sudden, Chris called me up and said, hey, what do you think about Greg going on TSN with Gene Principe?
Yeah.
And he lit that one up. And Greg, I had no idea. It's not about, it all goes back to that song and the fact you cared about other people. It inspired me to care about them too. And we were in a business that struggled, but the business cared as well, and the staff cared.
Yeah.
It's never about one person. It's just all about the accumulation of things, right? And all this just fell together.
Yeah.
And next thing you knew, we decided we were going to do the outdoor concert, and everyone said it couldn't be done. Well, we did it. We pulled off an outdoor concert. We had 100 people in their cars. We did that on the anniversary day.
So let me just get that straight. I heard a snap that like scared me for a second. We're all good? We don't know what it was. Don't worry.
It's a crackle.
It was a crackle. I was like, my face just went, whoa. I was like, I'm so used to being in the hood with like gunshots. And I was like,
Strathmore hood.
No. But that week you talk about the things that we did. Like, we had Humboldt. We drove to Humboldt, played at center ice of Humboldt Broncos. Yeah. We did the fundraiser at your pub. I went on TSN during the first intermission, talk with Gene Principe. They played the music video to thousands and thousands of people on a live broadcast. We did an outdoor show where oh my God, you put together an outdoor show in a matter of a couple days.
Yep.
And you were just like, we're gonna pile people together in a parking lot on the anniversary of the Humboldt Broncos, and everyone thought you were crazy. And we're literally driving out to this park, and the funniest part of this whole thing was when we get there, and I go, "Hey Ken, what are we plugging into?" And you go, A generator. I go, where's the generator? You go,
we didn't have one.
Is it not in there? I go, no, it's not in there. Ken literally thinks on his feet, and you drive back down the road. He sees a garage with it open and a random guy in it. He goes and knocks on this house and says, hey, dude, we're trying to do a show down the road. Do you have a generator? And you tell that. You got a generator.
Literally, I had Jody and Alice. Actually, Jody was at an appointment. We had Allison, who owns District Distillery, who'd given us Caleb's books. And their daughter, she's in the car. And Paul called me and said we didn't have any power. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, we forgot the damn generator. Like, we forgot the generator. Oh, no. Yeah. And I looked to my left, and there's a garage door open. I pulled up, and I'm just like, excuse me, but we have this concert we're doing right up the road, which I'm sure the guy is like, in the middle of COVID, you're doing a concert? Yeah. And he says, yeah, I think I have a Jenny in here somewhere. It hasn't run in years. Yeah. And he digs through his pile. He comes back, and he holds out with this little generator, and he came out with his wife, and they watched that show. And the crazy thing about it was a number of things happened there, but people got some hope, I think. And as hard a situation as it was, the night you and I went to the Remand Center, and you sang a song called Hockey Dad, in honor of Wayne Gretzky's dad, who died that year. Yep. And one of the guards was a hockey dad, and that inspired him in some way, shape, or form, I'm sure. It'd be great to hear his story one day. But then we ended up back at the restaurant, and we did the district. You and Bobby LeDrew played one night.
Yep. And we played a little private show at the distillery.
Yeah, and Chris's family came out. And the night we drove to Humboldt, it was crazy. Like what an honor it was for all of us to be there. So what had happened originally when you landed and we did the remand, we came back to the restaurant, and I was so nervous. But we had two of the families in there. They were coming to say goodbye to us. They were going away for the weekend. And they wanted to thank us for what we were doing. And the week before, when you were still in Ontario, I wish I could remember her last name, but Rhonda, who was Logan's mom, they asked if they could have her 40th birthday there at the bar. And I can remember being so nervous about all of this and just, what am I doing? I haven't got a clue how to run a fundraiser, and it's crazy, and we're all down to the bottom. We're all broke, and no one knows what the hell we're doing. And I walked in. I went to get them a cake. And I walked in, and if you remember, that little side room at Thirsty was a separate room. And I walked in, and I was standing at the counter so nervous, and Chris is there with 4 of the families from St. Albert that had lost boys in that crash. And as I'm walking, I put the cake down, and I'm so nervous about it, like, what am I doing, and why am I here? And all of a sudden, I hear the laughter. And that was crazy. You hear this laughter from families that have had tragedy, but they're celebrating. And you and I walked in after the remand that night, and they were there to thank us. Yeah. And it's really good. And one of the parents said to me later on in the week that, that you've turned our grief into a celebration. It's time to celebrate the lives that were lost. And that's tremendous, right? It's got nothing to do with individuals. It's got to do with every single thing that combined that trip. Yeah. Some crazy person that was running Cardiff at the time said, as long as you get Alberta Health to agree, we'll do it. We'll host it. Crazy. No one else was doing that at that time, right? Yeah. It was a tremendous week. And then call up to the Broncos team and the management there, and they're like, come on up, let them play at center ice. We need it. And do you remember that no one was supposed to be in the building? That whole management team, their families were all sitting in the stands watching you.
Yeah. I think the song, it was a hard line to walk because having a song that is just so personal to so many people's lives, and obviously not knowing any of the players on the team, like when I went out that week, I just remember being so nervous, and I was just like, man, like I'm singing this song and I'm here raising money, but like I don't know anyone personally on the team, and I'm face to face with 4 families that lost their children, lost their children in this bus crash. And I just remember still to this day of like the most emotional performance of that song ever was when I got to sit in the home of Chris Joseph and the Joseph family when they invite us over for barbecue. Yeah. And I sat in the room with 4 families that lost their kids. Yeah. And I remember, and I wasn't going to play it that night because we even talked about that. I said, I don't know if I'm going to even play the song because I don't know if I want to. And he said, just feel it out. Feel it out and go. And I remember at the end of the night, Chris walks up to me and he goes, I think we're ready. We're ready for you to sing the song. And I remember just sitting there on his couch, 4 families looking at me, and me singing 16 Sticks. And I still to this day I get shivers just thinking about that, because it's like that song might have, and I still remember Chris saying to me, he's like, this is the first time, like that distillery gig, when we played that private show for him and his family, and we were singing country covers and sing-alongs, he looked at me and he said, this is the first time I've laughed in 3 years. This is the first time I've smiled in 3 years. And like hearing that just 1 week out there, and that, like, it was just crazy to think about that. And I started meeting everybody, and oh man, I just think about, like, yeah, what that song, did for us, and it brought us together.
For every single one of us. It got me. I hadn't done any grieving, and it got me to grieve afterwards. And then I remember going through the locker room, and you looking at me, and I said, is there anything we're missing? Is there anything you'd like to do? And you said, the next trip out here, I'm going to see the crash site.
Ah, yes.
And then that team hands us a whole bunch of sandwiches and a real lunch bag and everything. And it's like, first time I've been excited about a bag lunch at like a school lunch in a long time.
What's that been, like 50 years?
And then we just jumped. Yeah, a long time. Then we jumped in the Jeep, and I said, I didn't tell you, but we were going, and that's where we went.
Yeah.
That was impactful. That was one of the biggest impacts in my life, was seeing that site and seeing what people had been through, and then ultimately what they shared with us by letting us do what we did that year. And it's it's tremendous. We still have the families coming in the restaurant. We still have, I've got great memories of it, but it goes back to that song, man. It goes back to your songwriting and what you share with people. And anybody seeing or hearing this, play that song 16 Sticks. It's you are a songwriter. You need to go places with that. That ability is just tremendous. But you touched the whole city, right? You touched the whole everybody with that outcome. Mm-hmm. And it's probably what gave me tenacity to get through COVID and do, keep going. Hard thing to do. It's not, and you did it. You got back, and you're going back to Nashville someday. But more importantly is you're still writing songs. You're still doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I just think I don't put my dreams on a location anymore.
Yep.
And I think I've learned that through everything that's happened in my life, and the ups and downs and the valleys and the mountains, and I don't put it on a location anymore. Yep. I think for me, Nashville gave me so much experience, and it turned me into the performer that I am. But for me, it's letting the music shine through everything. Like,
for sure,
the music shines. It's not. There's no city that can bring that out in me. And if anything, Nashville actually took it away from me. Nashville turned it into a job for me, and it turned it into something that I actually didn't enjoy as much as when I'm sitting in a new place with a crowd full of people that want to listen to my original songs, and I can connect with them one-on-one, and I can tell my story, and that to me is more powerful. And sometimes you don't get that in Nashville, because it's just a bunch of raging people that want to party, and they want to hear the new big country song, and they don't want to hear the songs that I wrote at my darkest moments in my life. And so I think, I don't know what my life calls for, but I'm just so happy, because when I met you and you gave me that week, I think that song pushed me through COVID too, and it made me believe in myself and showed me that I can write songs that people can connect with, and it kind of changed the whole trajectory of like the music that I wanted to write. And then when I went back to Ontario, I remember flying into Pearson, and I was like, no, this is not where I'm meant to be. I was like, I flew in, I was like, this isn't home anymore. Like, just 1 week out in Alberta, I was like, I want to go back. And I remember texting you a couple weeks later. I was like, hey, Ken, if I were to move out west, and would you give me a bartend job and a couple gigs? Yep. And you said 100%. That's all you wrote back to me. When are you coming? And I said, I don't know, 2 weeks. And I saved up a bit of money, and I flew out to St. Albert, and you made a spot for me in your home. You gave me a room. You didn't let me pay rent. You literally put me up for a couple months. You gave me gigs. I played more music that summer than I have in a year and a half, and it was not even inside. We did the parking lot shows, and you're like, Greg, just play on weekends and set up in front of the C-Can.
Yeah, we were going to make you a busker. They weren't allowing it at the time.
Yeah, they weren't allowing inside shows, so I just played at the C-Can, and we played shows. And man, I'm so grateful that you came in my life. And obviously, I've now been in Alberta for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I stayed in St. Albert, moved down to Calgary, and came out here to Strathmore. And for the first time, I just feel like Alberta. It was my people. It was the people that I found, and I really feel at home here. I feel like I can be myself. I'm not afraid to speak my mind out here, and I'm so excited for this podcast and what this can do for my brand and kind of building here in Alberta. So,
well, welcome, because we're all wealthier by far having you here. Yet you did so much that week, and just you touched everybody. And that was a city that didn't have any hope, just like everywhere else, I think. And there must be a lot of people out there, right? There's a lot of Greg Riders. There's a lot of Kens. There's a lot of everybody. And I think it's the only thing that gets us through and gets us to better places. But it's tremendous to have been a part of that. It was an unbelievable time. And, your music is amazing, but your character is what drew me to you. And I'm far better off having met you, and just the fact that you answered that long-winded message is amazing.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. And
I'll listen to every one of them.
It's truly an honor just to have you here, and it just makes me so happy that you bring people into your life that are just like you keep your circle small, you keep real friends, you keep real genuine people that have your back. And I think life is so much more enjoyable when you find people that just truly support you and want to see you win. And I don't think I would be the man I am today without you, because I think like you've pushed me, and you've you saw something in me that I didn't see, that I thought I lost for a little while. So you brought that out in me. You showed me that I do have something to give. And man, I'm grateful.
That guitar you carry's got a strap on it that says, "You're my son." You are.
We got to show this. So this is
an honor.
This is a strap that I play at all my shows. And Ken, you dedicate this, and you got this made, and it says right here, Riders Pub, legit 2021, because one of our crazy ideas was to rename your restaurant Riders Pub
and open up in Nashville.
So So it says Riders Pub, legit 2021. We still don't have that opened. And then the back here it says, "Love you, son, go pick your bones." So, man, it's crazy. Life is incredible. And we're going to wrap it up here, but I feel like I want to play a song, but we can do a couple more minutes if you want. Okay.
Yeah, I think you should play a song.
What do you want to? What do you want me to play?
Bones to pick, or do 16 Sticks. I think everybody should hear it.
Yeah,
love it. Yeah.
That's kind of put on the that's put on the spot for. All right. It was funny because I actually thought I was going to play a different song, because the song that you liked. But yeah, this episode has been about the song that connected us.
Yeah.
So.
Love you, and I'm proud of you, man.
I know how it feels to stand on that blue line, wear my jersey on a Saturday night. Friends and family tucked against the glass, and holding their breath with every pass. A band of brothers brought together by that crest, from the playoff win, the last hometown win. But that all changed on a cold Saskatchewan night, around 5 p.m. on Highway 35. And there will always be 16 sticks laying at sunrise, picking stars, frozen in time with the banners high under those rafter lights. And there will always be 16 dreams that get carried on by yellow and green through every hometown win. Nothing will take away those times, and those 16 sticks will live forever on ice. For 60 minutes at the end of the week, but they were Humboldt heroes we could see and believe. Passion and faith, and laced up in those skates that brought the whole town alive with every red light. Say, 'cause there will always be 16 sticks laying at sunrise and picking sides, frozen in time with the banners high under those rafter lines. There will always be 16 dreams that get carried on by yellow and green through every heartbreak loss and every hometown win. 'Cause nothing will take away those times, and those 60 sticks will live forever all night. And no matter how much time passes, the wins or the losses, 'cause I know that they'll be watching, yeah. 'Cause there will always be 16 sticks laying at sunrise, picking sides, frozen in time with the banners high under those rafter lights. 'Cause there will always be 16 dreams that get carried on by yellow and green through every heartbreak loss and every hometown win. 'Cause nothing will take away those times, and those 16 sticks will live forever all night. Yeah, those 16 sticks will live forever all night. Thank you, Ken, for coming on the Greg Ryder Show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe, do all those fun things, and we'll be back next week with a new episode. Thanks, guys.